A real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And yes, we're blessed and highly favored here in studio, coming with you live on the Consumer Quarterback Show, helping you win in any marketplace. Attorney Jason Kobal in the house. He's our legal analyst for all things personal injury law, work comp law, and more coming up here on the show. Interesting clip we're going to play. Could Trump be thrown in jail? What are the legal ramifications and what may happen if that were to happen? We're going to talk with Jason Kobal about that coming up here on the program. Also, attorney Millicent Athanason coming on the second half here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And we always like to feature our real estate listings, and my wife Lindsay and I own a top real estate team here in Tampa Bay. We got a property here at 5198 40th Street South in St. Petersburg. Great opportunity to own real estate here in Tampa Bay. 5198 40th. This is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 3,000 plus square feet. Beautifully renovated interior. You have a screened-in back patio, spacious living, open floor plan. You're in Maximo Moorings here. That puts you close to the Tiki Docks and the Skyway Bar. Great opportunity right here in Tampa Bay. Stainless steel appliances, breakfast bar, and recessed lighting. 5198 40th Street South, St. Petersburg, Florida. Check out our many open houses and opportunities online as well. Great opportunity here in beautiful Tampa Bay. All right, 3100 Archer Place, Gainesville, Florida. Want to let you know, all of our Florida Gator, where are our Florida Gator fans? Where are our investors? Because this is a great opportunity here for 10% off retail pre-construction pricing for our 90 luxury units in Gainesville, Florida. 3101 Old Archer Road, Unit 209 in Gainesville. This one has floor plans ranging from one bed, 2 bath, up to 3 bedrooms, 3 bath, $400,000 up to the high 900s. It is EB-5 visa approved, no short-term rental restrictions, and you're only a mile and a half, just over a mile to the University of Florida. 5 minutes from Shams Medical, high-end luxury amenities as well in the building. 3101 Old Archer Road, unit number 209 in Gainesville, Florida. And you can see all of our beautiful real estate listings at PlatinumMVPTeam.kw.com. PlatinumMVPTeam.kw.com. And we love to feature our listings. We like to talk about things happening, current events, things happening here in Tampa Bay. And also, feel-good story of the day. College Lab makes 3D printed arms to help a 12-year-old amputee. Really cool story coming up on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I want to welcome in our legal analyst, that is, attorney Jason Kobal. Welcome in, Jason.
Hey, Brendan, always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in, and let's jump right into it. I know you help people locally here on personal injury law, work comp law, and then there's a lot of national stuff going on. You and I, we are in an election year, so we like to keep an eye on the election and just kind of say, hey, here's our point of view. Here's our thoughts on this whole process. It just looks like the strategy this year is let's try to take them off the campaign trail. Let's try to throw as many fake lawsuits at them as we can. Meanwhile, we're ignoring the other side's issues.
It's disgusting. It's really showing weakness in our system like I've never seen before. You get these Soros-appointed DAs that bring suits in jurisdictions that are favorable to the prosecution. For example, the New York Trump trial that we just had, the hush money case. Yeah. That's a jurisdiction, I think 80-some% voted for Biden. Right. And it's tough to get a fair jury like that. But you look from day one when they filed those charges, there's 34 counts. And really, it's just 34 transactions all having to do with the one hush money payment. And that was done, so it really could have been one count.
But it sounds so much better as 34 counts.
That's so Schiff got to do guilty 34 times. It's just ridiculous. So, right then and there, you knew this is a political show. But it's getting very real now, now that he's been convicted, and we have a sentencing hearing coming up here in, I believe, July 12th. But I don't know if you've heard, but right now an issue popped up just about a week ago. The judge had to send a letter to both parties that there was a statement that was posted online by someone who alleges to be a cousin of a juror, indicating that they knew 2 days before the verdict came out that Trump was going to be guilty on all charges, and he thanked the judge and the prosecution for the hard work. Now that person, I guess, has since said, "Oh, it was just a joke," but I know that there's investigators looking into it. If that were to be true, that one of the jurors slipped and spoke about the case that would be a mistrial automatic. So,
wow.
So that's very, very important. And not a lot of people are talking about it because it hasn't been resolved one way or the other. But both parties are definitely looking into that right now. And if that turns out to be valid, that's one way out of this mess that could end it quickly. And another way is if he's put in jail. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because this will be a first-time offender. He doesn't have a history of violent crime or anything. So under normal circumstances, you wouldn't give someone like that jail time.
Well, let's hear this clip and we'll debate that. We'll talk a little bit about that. Here's Roger Stone. If you haven't heard of Roger Stone, you probably don't follow politics much, but he's been around since the Nixon administration. I think he's got a tattoo of Nixon on his back. But he's been around the politics game for a long time. Here's his opinion on the Charlie Kirk show.
He could be imprisoned before the election.
I think he could be imprisoned on July 12th.
How would he show up at the RNC the next week?
He'd have to do it virtually somehow. I mean, these people are capable of absolutely anything.
So let's game that out. And again, some of this is speculation. Who would benefit? It's that cui bono, right? Who benefits from Donald Trump being imprisoned on July 12th?
Well, I think it allows them to drive the whole convicted felon narrative, which is an important part. There's 4 parts to their strategy.
All right, so I'm going to pause there. So, yes, that's the number one. Let's drive that home. Let's repeat that on all the fake news channels. That's number one, right, Jay?
Yeah, and like I said, under normal circumstances, that wouldn't even be a question with the first-time offender, but these aren't normal circumstances.
No.
Now, why I personally don't think that'll happen is right now this case was brought in state court. That's one of the reasons why I think it will get overturned on appeal is this DA he used for the first time ever, never been done before. He uses federal law to revive the statute of limitations ran on the state law that he put forth in his complaint. And no one's ever done that before, which is ironic because if you remember to James Comey with Clinton, he said even though the gross negligence statute was violated, he said no reasonable prosecutor would bring those charges because it hasn't been done before. Yeah. Well, this was never done before, but they had no problem bringing those charges.
You know what else
Trump.
has never been done before either is saying in a document that the current Crooked Joe president of the United States was how did they word it? He would just be seen as an old man and he couldn't be prosecuted because he's forgetful. So they're on one side they're giving all this extreme leniency, whereas if it were me and you, we'd get the hammer down on us. And then on the other side, they're like stretching, bending, twisting everything to make it work for them.
That's the two-tier justice system. But because it's in state court, if all things stay the same and that juror, it ends up being a joke or whatever, wasn't real, the juror's cousin, that's one quick way to resolve this. If that doesn't work out, it will take over. The election will already be done by the time that appeal actually gets decided.
Right.
Because it's in state court. One other way to fast track it, if Roger Stone is right and they try to put him in jail on the 12th, that will immediately, they'll be able to file paperwork in federal court to try to stop that. And that would fast track it. You could fast track it a lot quicker and get it to the Supreme Court a lot quicker than if it goes the other route.
That makes sense.
So I don't think that's going to happen. I pray it doesn't happen, but who knows?
I'm praying about the election. I'm praying about a lot of stuff this year, and it's really, I mean, that's what we can do, right? We got a nation to save. We got a country to save here. I'm going to continue with the clip.
Trump is a convicted felon. January 6th, which is crumbling before your very eyes.
All right, January 6th, that's point number one, or point number two. Talk about January 6th, because there's been a lot of things coming out lately just showing, hey, this was a guided tour. There was insider. There was a lot of these agitators that could have been from the federal government. What are you seeing, and what's the latest on J6?
Well, I remember that like yesterday because I was watching January 6th happen, and I'm watching some of the Capitol Police walking people into the building and practically giving them a tour, like you said. And then, of course, there were some agitators, and on that day, it even started before Trump finished his speech.
Exactly.
So that, to me, it was a terrible day. It was a riot that got out of hand. But what really bothered me is, as it was happening, that very day it was happening, all the media outlets used the term insurrection, which personally I haven't heard since law school.
Yeah, they
that's
figured
not a common crime.
They had it planned.
I believe so.
And then did you see the video, too, with Pelosi in the vehicle?
Yep.
Yeah, so that also, she's admitting, like, oh, we should have did this, we should have had that. Because before the whole thing happened, Trump was saying, and Tucker interviewed the police chief of the Capitol Police. Remember that interview, too?
Yep.
Tucker interviewed him. So he was citing all of these interesting things where he was left out of the intelligence briefing. It was a complete setup.
Yeah.
It's all a setup.
Even I like to look at people like Lindsey Graham and a couple others that on January 6th, they were on the other side. They're like, oh, that's it. He had a good run, but, that's enough with Trump. And then now, of course, when he saw it didn't pan out, he's done a 180. He's back on
exactly.
Team Trump. But our political establishment, I believe, planned that.
Too many of them are like that. And then, so we're going to continue with his second point or third point.
Abortion. The Republicans want to make abortion illegal every place. That's not accurate. That's not what the repeal of Roe v. Wade does.
Okay, so that's another false narrative that's continuing to be peddled. Talk to me about that.
Well, yeah, that's who handles that the best, believe it or not? Donald Trump. Because he says, guess what? Now it's in the hands of each state.
The states' rights.
And that's the way to handle that question. They are not trying to make it illegal all over the country.
Yep.
The decision has been made by the Supreme Court. It's each state has a right to do it however they want. So if you don't like your state law, talk to your legislature. But it's not a federal issue anymore.
Right. And if the other the other fake news media outlets, if they would just say it the way it was supposed to be said, but they don't. They twist and turn and give you half truths, and unfortunately that's what they do. So here's the next point.
And then they're going to come back because there's a subset of House Republicans who favor extending the age before you can receive your Social Security benefits and means testing outside income to potentially cut your benefits. You can bet you're going to see TV commercials about that as well.
Okay, so there's a small subset, but they're going to group that in and kind of lump that into all the Republicans want to do this. This is what they want to do. And the thing that gets me, too, is by them controlling the narrative on these talking points, it overlooks the rampant crime. It overlooks the southern border. It overlooks a story just like this one with Senator Cotton.
Recently learned that the murderer of Rachel Marin, a beautiful young mother of 5, was a savage degenerate from El Salvador who raped and beat her after doing something similar in El Salvador. Yet Joe Biden, rather than getting serious about immigrant crime, is about to give amnesty to more than 1 million illegal aliens.
So how can they, control the narrative, and we're overlooking these types of things? Record numbers of illegals coming through the country, the crime. They're emboldening the cartels. They're allowing human trafficking to happen, and all of these different things that are happening. It just seems like this, all of these things are going to they should lead to a huge Trump victory, like he says, too big to rig.
Right. And right now, according to the polls at least, he's leading in every single swing state. Every swing state that Biden won, Trump is now winning in.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's the way it pans out. But no, I was watching CNN the other day, and they had someone on there that was talking about that very incident. And she said, do not associate illegal immigrants or who come over here illegally with violent crime, because there's been no evidence of that. Yes, right. There is. There's evidence happening every day, and it's progressively getting worse.
Yeah.
Because you know what? There's bad people in the world that want to do us harm.
Yeah.
And when you're foolish enough to leave your border wide open, those bad people are going to come over here and do us harm.
You're making it easy, and they're paying money to these cartels to do that. So they're emboldening and enriching these cartels to allow them to do that, to come in and rape our children and peddle drugs. I've had so many different people. I saw a post again from a kind of a friend through the business channels, a Facebook friend, right? And he lost one son from drug overdose. 30 days later, he lost his second son to another similar situation, a drug overdose. And you see this happening over and over, Jason. It's disgusting what's happening.
And now I just saw there was a congressional committee that says there's Chinese nationals are cooperating with the Mexican cartel about pumping fentanyl into our country through the southwestern border.
Yeah.
So I would think that issue alone, what's happening at our border, should be enough to get people to vote for President Trump, because I don't think we could endure 4 more years.
Yeah, because it's night and day difference. You had literally one of the best presidents, if not some people would say the best president in the history. Maybe you could argue, of course, Lincoln and Reagan and some of these versus the worst. This is the absolute worst that we've ever seen But it's not going to be him that's running. It's going to be another person. It's going to be probably Obama, would be my guess. It's going to be that. We're going to take a quick break. Coming up more, attorney Jason Kobal here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Support your local economy by supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show online at consumerqb.com. All of our expert contributors are there. And follow us online at Brandon Rhymes 1 at CQB Show. And we'll be right back. More with attorney Jason Kobal coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
Lindsay Rhymes here with Archer Place in Gainesville, Florida. Our luxury condo community is located only 1.5 miles from the University of Florida, 5 minutes to Shands Medical and Butler Plaza. Our buyers love the high-end luxury amenities in their building, including a state-of-the-art fitness facility equipped with Pelotons, the resort-style temperature-controlled pool accompanied with cabanas and grills, and the gourmet chef's kitchen in our clubhouse that overlooks the pool. We have pre-construction pricing only for a limited time, with floor plans ranging from a 1-bedroom, 1-bath to 2-floor penthouses with plunge pools. Starting in the low 400,000s to the high 900s, investors, parents sending their young adults off to school, medical professionals, business owners, and entrepreneurs alike are investing in these residences. Reach out to us today at 727-263-3707 to get more information.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, talking with attorney Jason Kobal. He's our legal analyst on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Quick shout out to Lee's Royal Services cleaning company here in Tampa Bay. They do a great job cleaning our real estate properties. Lee'sRoyalServices.com. Check them out online. Handyman services, home cleaning, office cleaning, Lee'sRoyalServices.com. Make sure you let them know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you. Support the local economy by supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show and all of our expert contributors. Coming up more with attorney Jason Kobal. Before we do, 140 92nd Avenue, Treasure Island. Beautiful listing right here on Treasure Island, Pinellas County. Beautiful property right here in Tampa Bay. You got a great opportunity to own 2 renovated cottages on an oversized lot right here, just a block from the beach, Gulf of Mexico. Cottages available. You also have Hurricane Strength Storage Shed as well. 140 92nd Avenue, Treasure Island, Florida. Great opportunity here in Tampa Bay. 6101 Bayside Drive. This is Newport Richey, waterfront dock, single-family home, 5 bedrooms, 3 bath, 3852 square feet, quarter-acre lot, lush palm trees, hurricane-grade windows and doors, open concept, wood-burning fireplace. Beautiful home right here in Tampa Bay. And you can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumMVPTeam.kw.com.
Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road.
All right, attorney Jason Kobal in the house. Jason, final thoughts. Back to you. We got about 5 minutes here to share with each other, but yeah, just in general speaking, what are you thinking out there? What are you seeing out there?
Well, I got 2 exciting cases that I've been dealing with. One, I'm not going to mention any names, but be careful out there if you're using a rideshare company.
Yeah.
Especially, I know one of the companies are now marketing for teens, where they pick up your kid and they send a message to the parents saying, okay, your kid's getting taken to the hairstylist or whatever. But there's been a lot of problems with the drivers.
Yeah.
And, I know that they give a lot of rides and things slip through the cracks and whatnot, but I have 2 clients that were celebrating a birthday, and unfortunately, they were drugged and robbed. And so, yeah, you really got to be careful. Gosh, I'm kind of an old school believer. I don't want to be giving any stranger picking up my kid, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But just be careful out there with those companies. And then also in car accidents, things are different now. The law's been changed. A couple of years ago, I remember we had a streak of 19 straight cases of getting the policy limits without even having to file anything in court. Things are different. So if you have an attorney that's not talking to you, that's not good, because the statute of limitations have been cut down. They're not negotiating the same. And it's just like a perfect storm, because when the law changed, it was effective for most of the law changes when your date of accident was. So all these attorneys, there was all thousands of complaints that were filed because they wanted to get the old law while it was still around. And what it did is it caused this huge backup like we've never seen before in the court system. So now what would normally take 2 years to get to trial, it's taking 4 or 5 years. Wow. So because of that, now you have such a longer wait to get to the end game of jury trial. In a car accident, it has hindered the negotiations. They're offering less.
Right.
So you really got to have an attorney that can explain what's going on.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's a mess right now.
Especially for people that need the money now. They need relief now, and they have to either look at waiting an extended period of time because of that backlog. So that's the strategy then.
Yep, and you got to understand why it's happening, and sometimes you could work around it and we'll still getting quick results some of the time, but it's only in certain circumstances. And then if you have to wait, there's options out there for making that possible.
Yeah.
So, but if you're not hearing from your attorney and not getting this told to you, forget it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking with attorney Jason Kobal here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And when you think about work comp law, is there anything new in the work comp law world?
Well, I just had lunch with a great workers' comp attorney who's been in the area for decades. Larry Anzalone's a great guy, but we just had lunch. We were talking about how different the practice of workers' comp is now post-COVID. It's another change. No one was working there for a while. Everything was shut down, so there was a lot less on-the-job accidents with nobody working. But now, since we've come back from COVID, the system has changed. The only time you're really in person is for the trials before the judges, and some of those are even being done by phone and by Zoom. So there's a lot less driving time. I have a lot more efficient use of my time, get more done in a day. Where some days back in the day, I'd have to drive 2 hours to Orlando, sit 4 hours in a mediation, then drive 2 hours, and then my whole day's shot.
Right.
And maybe they're unreasonable, make a dime that day.
Exactly.
But now, you do the mediations by phone exclusively. You have a lot more time on your hands. So from a practice standpoint, it's definitely different. From a consumer standpoint, if you're injured on the job in Florida and it's serious at all, get a lawyer, because, man, that's a whole other crooked system. I could go on and on for that for hours.
Right.
Very tough. So if you get hurt at work, don't try to do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It was interesting, too. I was talking to an immigration attorney, and I've been wanting to bring other categories of attorneys on the show, so an immigration attorney, and it was interesting because he was saying, multiple stories about he has clients in this country or that country, and he'd call them that he helped, get back to that country or whatever, back and forth. And they would say the similar stories about, the crime down here is so much better in Venezuela now because of all the criminals that have left and gone into the States. So he's hearing firsthand stories. Also, there was one story about the country of Georgia, where you would see like newspaper clippings, and they would show how much they're getting paid just to bring people into the country illegally. So you could see it firsthand from an attorney that's dealing with immigration.
That's cool. I have to see that episode. That's
interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I got to still get him on the show, but it was a phone call and it kind of a pre-show interview. But
that's smart.
Final 15 seconds or so. How do you want people to connect with you, Jay?
Either TampaWorkCompLaw.com or call the show.
All right, TampaWorkCompLaw.com, or reach out 727-263-3707. Give us a call 727-263-3707. You can call or text that line 263-3707. Jason, pleasure coming in, man. Appreciate
you, Brandon.
All right, coming up, attorney Millicent Athanason on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We're going to stay with the legal theme here and talk with attorney Millicent Athanason coming up. Follow us online. We'd love to connect with you at Brandon Rhymes 1 at CQB Show, and we'll be right back. Also, feel good story of the day. College Lab makes 3D printed arms to help a 12-year-old amputee. Coming up.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, always helping you sell faster for more money here. in the Tampa Bay market. Other markets across the state, of course, we're representing 90 pre-construction luxury condos in Gainesville, Florida as well. So helping you in your real estate, no matter what state you're in as well. We have the referral network through Keller Williams Realty, the #1 real estate company in the world. So think about us locally, think out of state, in state, worldwide with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. Zero rustling wind. We sell vacant land. We sell commercial properties. We sell residential properties. This one's on rustling wind. It's in Brooksville, Florida, 4.5 acres of land. There's no HOA or CDD, so it's a great opportunity to buy and build here in Tampa Bay, just a stone's throw away from a myriad of modern amenities. Short drive to dining options, shopping, entertainment, and more. And you're close to the Suncoast Parkway here at Rustling Wind Road, Brooksville, Florida. Vacant land opportunity from the Platinum MVP team. All right, here's a commercial property at 7202 US Highway 301 South in Riverview. We got about currently 60 current listings, and we have a vacant land, commercial, residential properties available. This one's a commercial property. There's 2 separate buildings. You have a barber shop, which could be also utilized as an insurance, real estate office, title company office, doctor's office, I would think. You could also look at the opportunity of passive income. So you have a mechanic shop there right next door, which is kicking off a lot of cash every month. New roof, new AC, newer roof and AC. 7202 US Highway 301 South in Riverview. Corner lot location, 50,000 vehicles a day passing by. Great opportunity to buy and own real estate here in Tampa Bay. And you can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumMVPTeam.kw.com. Check out PlatinumMVPTeam.kw.com. All right, quick shout out to our friends at Heights Soft Wash as well. Heights Soft Wash, pressure washing company here in Tampa Bay. Highly recommend Ramin and his team. They do a great job cleaning our real estate properties. HeightsSoftWash.com. Let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. HeightsSoftWash.com for all of your pressure washing needs right here in Tampa Bay. Support the local economy by supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show and all of our great expert contributors. And speaking of our awesome expert contributors, we got attorney Millicent Athanason back on the show. Millie, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm always a pleasure to be here, Brandon. Thank you. Absolutely.
Looking forward to getting into it. So what did you want to talk about today, Millie?
Well, I wanted to talk about the importance of having an attorney. With today's access to information, a lot of people are trying to play like self-lawyering. They'll look up Google Esquire, as I call it, where people try to ask Google questions and expect that they're going to get a legal opinion. My recommendation is it's great to have access to information and it's great to look things up, but the laws and how they apply to a certain set of factual circumstances is not something that Google can analyze or that your neighbor can analyze or your friends or family members, even though a family member or friend may have had a similar situation in their life, whether it be a car accident or a divorce or what have you. It doesn't mean that their factual circumstances are identical to your factual circumstances.
Right.
And so how things are going to play out, again, really depends on what the law says and how it's going to apply to your set of facts. And what happens in law, it changes all of the time. And I think, as you know, I routinely come on the show and talk about changes to Florida statutes that go on all the time, every legislative session. And so what that means is that, for example, someone that got divorced, 2 years ago is not going to necessarily have the same laws applied to their case that went on to that somebody that's getting divorced today. So they can't really give you advice because, as you know, like, for example, we talked about in family law cases that the law has changed and that now there's a presumption that fathers should have 50-50 or equal time sharing with the minor children, or I should say the non-custodial parent, because it could be a mother or a father.
Right.
But that the parents are going to be treated, equally. We also talked about that there's been a huge change in alimony. We've completely reformed the alimony statute. On the personal injury case, side. We've talked about tort reform and how the statute of limitations has changed, and other measures to tort reform that affect damages and how they're calculated. So again, unless you talk to a lawyer that keeps up with this on a regular basis, and also somebody that goes to court on a regular basis and is in the trenches and can tell you, well, I've seen this, I've seen that, this is what's going to likely happen in this case with this particular court, so forth and so on, you're not going to have really good information to help you. And I think what's happening and what I'm seeing a lot of in my practice are people that try to represent themselves. They go on for a couple of months, realize that it's completely overwhelming. They can't, the self-help forms, they don't understand how to properly utilize them. And then they've made a bigger mess. So by the time they get to my office, I not only have to do the work that I needed to do to begin with, but now I got to clean up the mess.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Millie, we're talking with attorney Millie Athanason here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. And Millie, I wanted to go back to something you said before. A couple of questions I had that come up from your intro there, your intro monologue. When you think about family law, it seems like there was something said to the effect that now it's the presumption of 50-50 or equal between the custodial parent and not. Did that mean, like, prior to, let's just go back into the 90s, for example, was there a little bit of, I don't want to say bias, but a situation where fathers in a divorce situation were looked at in a different way versus maybe even a preference towards the women in those trials versus a separation, a divorce situation versus the men?
Well, Brandon, I'm going to tell you, I've been practicing law 35 years. The law has evolved greatly in that period of time. So when I first started practicing law back in 1989, we were still using the tender years doctrine to argue cases, and that stated that when children were young, there's a presumption that they're better off with the mother because they have to be fed and diaper changed and all that. Now jump ahead 35 years, here we are in 2024, and now what the law says is that there is a rebuttable presumption that equal time sharing is in the best interest of the minor child or children. And so what that means is that it's a rebuttable presumption. So that means if there is evidence as to why one parent or the other shouldn't have equal time sharing, then it's the burden would be up to that parent to show why it shouldn't be. Otherwise, there's a presumption that it will be in the best interest of the children to have equal time sharing. But before this statutory change, what the law said is that they're going to consider both parents equally, and they're not going to make any presumption as to whether a mother is better or a father is better. But that you still had to show what was in the best interest of the child or children when determining what the parenting plan would be, right?
Got it.
So it's shifted. Now we have a rebuttable presumption that equal time sharing is the way to go, and studies have shown that the bar looks at that children that have regular contact and access with those parents have a higher self-esteem, and they usually are more productive, and they have better long-term relationships with other people, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yeah. Much better.
So
husband and wife having the family together and spending equal time with parents, that is almost a no-brainer. But, yeah, they have to, have that and that unity, that family unit, and the parent looking up to the father and the mother and saying, they both care about me. They both love me. I am part of both of those two.
Yes, and unfortunately, as we know, Brandon, in a lot of these family law cases, they were all in love when they got married and made the baby, and life was wonderful, yada, yada. And then the minute they're getting divorced, he's a this, she's a that. Then,
irreparable, what's the word? Differences, right? Or irreconcilable.
Irreconcilable differences.
Yeah.
But what's worse is that a lot of times the child or children get stuck in the middle because they want to please both parents, but each parent is telling them horrible things about the other parent.
Yeah.
So it's like the poor kid is caught in the middle, and they don't know what to do.
Terrible.
So it is terrible, and I mean, it causes a lot of disruption in a minor child's life. I don't think parents realize the damage that they do when they badmouth the other parent to the child, because the child identifies as being a part of both of those parents.
Yeah.
So when you put down the other parent, you're in part putting down the child.
Yep, exactly. Now, the second part of my question I wanted to talk to you, and if you just joined us, Attorney Millie Athanason is on the Consumer Quarterback Show now, and I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes, and we're talking about family law and tort reform. It's an interesting, can you describe what a tort is and what type of reform that we did?
Yes. So torts are usually negligent. Well, you can have intentional torts, but most of them that we file lawsuits are accidental or negligent type of incidents. And I'm going to use a car accident because it's the most common form of tort that gets filed in as far as case filings in the circuit court. So basically it's an act of negligence, and you have to prove that there was a duty and that somebody breached the duty, and that the cause of the person's injuries was as a result of that breach or negligence, and that there are damages. So those are your basic elements of any type of tort. And what happened was in 2023, the big change was the statute of limitations. So in an automobile negligence case, we used to have a 4-year statute of limitations in Florida, which means if you were in an accident, you had 4 years from the date of the accident to sue whoever you thought was at fault for the accident. And if you were making an uninsured or underinsured motorist claim against your own insurance carrier, because that's considered a breach of contract action, you would have 5 years to do that. Well, the legislature came back and the governor ratified it in 2023 that now we only have a 2-year statute of limitations. And so now you only have 2 years from the date of accident to sue somebody. And the other big tort reform that they did is they changed it. We used to be a pure comparative negligence state, which means if you were in an accident and you were 90% at fault, you can still sue the other party to recover the 10% of damages that were caused by that person's negligence. But Florida law is now changed, and if you are more than 50% at fault, you can't make any recovery against the person that caused the accident. So those two things are absolutely huge elements as far as, tort reform in the state of Florida. And it kind of dictates how we evaluate cases and how we decide whether or not we want to pursue claims and or file lawsuits and such. So these are huge things. And again, if you don't consult with a lawyer and, you don't keep up with Florida law because you're not reading the journals every week when they come out, you're not going to know these things. You may hear some change of law on the news, but on the news they're going to give you a snippet of the law and not the nitty-gritty of how it's going to apply to your set of circumstances, right? So,
Yep.
the best thing to do is consult a lawyer and use a lawyer. Even when I've had, like when I got divorced, I hired a lawyer. I didn't dare even think of representing myself. I would never do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Similar stuff. Stuff in real estate and across, you see it across different areas now, especially, with people having access to online portals that they think is giving them the right information. And you could be missing one thing and you're just off by a mile. But we got to take a quick break there. More with attorney Millie Athanason on the flip side of this break here. I'm also going to ask Millie her advice to young people considering law as a career. I'm going to ask her that question on the other side of this break. Plus, feel-good story of the day. College Lab makes 3D printed arms. to help 12-year-old amputee reach her drumming goals. Feel good story of the day coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Lindsay Rhymes here. My husband Brandon and I own the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams, and our team of seasoned agents is ready to help you buy, sell, invest, and love the life you live here in Tampa Bay. Communication, execution, customer service, and bulletproofing transactions are really where our team shines. We service Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties, and we have seasoned agents in residential, luxury land, and commercial divisions. Reach out to us, your Christian realtors, and let us help empower you with the right knowledge to make smart decisions with your next transaction. Call us at 727-263-3707 today. Again, that number is 727-263-3707.
Selling commercial, vacant land, or residential properties? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. You can reach me at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, Brandon Rhymes here in studio. We're going to be talking with attorney Millicent Athanason here in just a moment. Before we do a couple of hot listings and a feel-good story of the day, we've got 2790 Pinellas Point Drive South. This one's in Pinellas County, Pinellas Point Drive South in Pinellas County. You're close to the beaches here. You've got a beautiful 3-bedroom, 3-bath home, 2236 square feet. Culinary enthusiasts will delight in the fully renovated kitchen, open floor plan, jacuzzi. You have solar as well here. 2790 Pinellas Point Drive South. Beautiful property here in Tampa Bay. 8333 New York Avenue. This is a commercial property. Great opportunity here. Again, it's kind of a mixed-use / commercial property because you've got residential units being rented out. You have a warehouse, 1.5 acres of land, Hudson, Florida. Great opportunity for more potential rental income if you were to bring in boat and RV parking there as well. 8333 New York Avenue in Hudson. Another one of our beautiful listings. You can see all of our real estate property listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. All right, here's our feel-good story of the day. We got a college lab that makes 3D printed arms to help 12-year-old amputee reach her drumming goals. 12-year-old Aubrey Savvy, born a triple congenital amputee, never let her lack of limbs hinder her from pursuing interests like taekwondo, art, and makeup. Her determination was evident early on. She excelled in various activities, including dance and playing the snare drum using her elbows. However, the sound wasn't quite satisfactory until her middle school band teacher recommended to her Tennessee Tech University's Engineering for Kids program. 10 students took on the project, creating 3D custom-printed prosthetics with interchangeable grips. After a semester of hard work, the results was a successful pair of prosthetics that allowed Aubrey to play the drums properly, opening up possibilities for a full drum kit. There you have it. Feel-good story of the day. I love those feel-good stories, Millie. That's a pretty cool story right there, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
I love that. All right, so I wanted to ask you, what's your advice to young people? You know, my daughter's actually going into law school, or she's going into pre-law. What's your advice to young people, just in general, or even as a career, getting into a career in law?
Oh, gosh. Well, of course, you know, I'm biased. I love practicing law. I love being a lawyer. It's all I've ever wanted to do. And I mean, I think it's a great opportunity. It's not glamorous like what you see on TV. Is not
like Suits.
It's not how law works in real life. You have a lot of responsibilities on your plate. So you're basically preparing work and helping people make decisions that change their lives or change the course of their lives. So the advice that you give, you have to take very seriously because it really does make huge differences in the lives of other people. So you can't take that lightly. I think that you do, if you're going into law, you have to make sure that you have a good work-life balance is what I'm going to say, because what happens to a lot of attorneys is they get into it and they're all gun-ho, and then they realize how much work is involved, and then they burn out. So I think the key to longevity in this field is to have a really good work-life balance so that, you are, yes, you're a lawyer, but you're also a family member, whether that be a spouse, mother, child, whatever your relationships are, that you make sure that you give time to those relationships. Because if not, I don't think you'll be happy, and a happy lawyer or an unhappy lawyer is not a good lawyer. So you have to make sure that you manage the stress and have a good work-life balance. I make sure I schedule like at least 2 vacations a year to just, check out for a week or so and decompress, because I think that that's so very important. Law is ever changing, so in addition to working on all of your clients' cases, you're having to constantly research the law, and you have to, keep up with all of the changes in the law. On the flip side, though, it's very exciting. You're never bored. And what's cool about law is that you're not limited to one area of law. So when you pass the bar exam, you can practice in any area of the law that you want to. And if you've been practicing in one area and you decide, I don't really like doing, criminal law anymore, I want to do family law, there is nothing that stops you from doing that. You can switch. And that's really nice because it's not monotonous. You can make it as exciting or non-exciting as you want it to be. And I think that is something that other occupations or professions don't afford.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a really good thing. It's expensive to go to law school, and obviously college is become very expensive nowadays as well. Even with scholarships and stuff, I mean, you're going to be looking usually at a minimum of $200,000 or more to get the college education plus a law school education.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you have to be prepared for that financial burden as well, because, the majority of the kids, when they graduate, they've got, loans that they have to pay back.
Yeah, exactly. Loan payback. And that's great advice. Work-life balance, the idea of, dedicating yourself and you're putting your clients' needs first, because you are a fiduciary in that capacity. So there's a lot of responsibility on you as well. Could be a very rewarding career. So that's great advice, Millie. We want you reaching out to Millie Athanason. You can call her directly at 833-ASK-MILLIE. That's 833-ASK-MILLIE. And then also online, Millie?
Is www.athanasonlaw.com.
athanasonlaw.com, 833-ASK-MILLIE. Support the local economy by supporting all of our expert contributors. We greatly appreciate our family out there, the Salem Media family, supporting this show. Millie, thank you so much. Great show today.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
All right. We had a double attorney show here today. Legal analyst Jason Kobal as well as Millie Athanason on the program. And we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. And we'll see you next time right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.